I'm doing another tier list. I know it's been about time. Um, and this one is on one of my favorite subjects, organic chemistry. I know everyone loves this. Now, you probably won't understand most of what I say if you have not taken some amount of organic chemistry education, but just watch it anyways. Um, so essentially, what this will be a tier list of is some of, not all, of the different retrons for aldehyde and ketone and their derivatives, reactions of those. Um, what is a retron? It's essentially just a pattern recognizing mechanism. Essentially, it'll just be how a reaction, an example of how a reaction proceeds, and all reactions of that nature proceed in the same way, but like with different organic molecules and products are different, but the pattern is the same. So, like I said, I will not be tackling all of them. I will be tackling 11 today. So, the pictures are kind of trash because the other tier list maker that I was going to use that was much better had me sign up using a Twitter. And then the tier list maker proceeded to ask if it could post and unpost and make likes for me using my Twitter account. And I was like, that's weird. Why would a tier list maker need to do that? So I said no. Um, so essentially, let's get into it on this shittier tier list maker. The first reaction, I'm gonna go right to left because it ordered them incorrectly, is an aldol retron, which is a bit interesting because in order to get this one, you go through the third option, which is kind of hard to see, is one of the steps in getting to this one. So I'm not entirely sure why it was put in this order. But anyways, so essentially a better look at what this is you have this aldol addition, which I'll talk about third. But then after the aldol addition, you get to your elimination of water, which happens when there is proton transfer and then the OH group gets essentially kicked off and you're left with a double bond. There, which affects other reactions later on, which is very exciting. But I personally like this reaction because it is straight off of tautomerization, which is this step essentially here. You get your enol or enolate, which I'll talk about more up above, but it's quite a simple reaction and is quite easy to get to. So I enjoy it, and I will list this one up at A tier. Now, the second reaction um, is is a terrible picture right here, so I'll show it here. Um, but this is a alpha acylation, oxidation, or elimination, where essentially you take a molecule like this, and when you um, convert it to an enolate and then react it with phenolselenium bromide, I believe, it creates a double bond through a mechanism that I would love to show, but the internet I could not find it, and my lecturer removed all of the lectures from me being able to access them for whatever reason. So I can't show that either. So all we have is this, and essentially it goes to this molecule over here with the double bond between the alpha and beta carbons. Um, Personally, I don't like this reaction. It's hard to explain. Maybe it's because when I was trying to do a problem, I didn't pay attention during lecture and didn't know that this existed. And when I saw it as a possible option, I'm like, well, that's stupid. Um, but it could be useful. But personally, I do not like the reaction very much. So I'm putting it at C tier. It's not very fun. It could be much cooler. Now, I already kind of showed the we're back to the aldol reaction. It's just an aldol addition, which we have up here. There's also the reverse or retroaldol, which gives back the ketone or aldehyde. And essentially up here is your aldol addition, which we saw earlier, which creates this molecule. Again, I like the reaction. It's quite simple and easy, just a pathway through an enolate. Um, but again, it's not quite as cool as a finished product, which creates a double bond, because what you get from an aldol addition is, I mean, it's useful, but not as useful. So I will be putting it at B tier. Now, the next reaction is a Reformatsky reaction. I probably butchered that name, but ho ho, I don't like this one very much. So essentially, if you have an OR group on the end, you can use bromine and zinc to attach, and it allows this kind of CH2 to essentially function as an enolate, which makes the reaction proceed to the desired product that you would get reacting with an enolate, like you see up here, except you have that OR group on the end. Um, but I don't like this as much because OR groups are a lot more fun to do when you use Claisen reactions. I believe I probably butchered that name as well. And those strangely are not on here, but those are a lot more fun. I'd probably put those at B or A tier. But this one, I hate having to throw in like a zinc in there. When you ever use zinc? So it's a bit annoying, and I always forget to use it as an option. So because of that, I'm also going to put that at C tier. However, the next reaction is another simple one, and it's a lot of fun. And this is just an alkylation after an enolate formation. So essentially, you have a molecule that looks like this, you form your enolate negative charge here, and then you can just add another R group by using Rx, where X is any molecule, or any, not molecule, any halogen, also not any halogen, chlorine, bromine, or iodine. So that allows the R group to be added as seen here. It's very simple, simple and easy to recognize reaction. I love simple, and is very useful in creating new molecules. So another A tier. Now, sorry. If we go to the next reaction, that ends up being over here. Yes, an alkylation of beta, the beta location to a keto group. Another really easy, simple reaction. I love using cuprous compounds. They're very easy to remember because it always adds once and to the beta position. So again, right here, that asterisk is just indicating RS dependent um, stereochemistry. So really simple. I enjoy this one. Uh, really hard to mess up. It's essentially just like a Grignard, but easier. Um, so going back, that's another A tier reaction for me. Um, the next reaction, though, is going to be, as I just mentioned, Grignard, but with CO2. Um, so this is, you can't see the Grignard reagent, but that essentially creates this R group, and it reacts with carbon dioxide, and it creates a molecule like this. I like Grignard reagents. Um, there's another Grignard reaction on here, another Retron. This is my second favorite of the two, but it's still, if I can find it on here, this is what the first one looks like. Um, where you got the reaction with carbon dioxide and dilute acid and acidic solution, sorry. And you hydrate it, and you get a product that looks like this, just like most Grignard reactions. Um, but yeah, it's, I don't like it as much as the one that we'll see in upcoming. So I'm going to put that at B tier. The next reaction, though, um, is the Wittig reaction. And this is another really fun one. I love the intermediate, creates the box, um, and you essentially pop out with your phosphorus and phenyl groups double bond to the oxygen, and then you can attach essentially whatever R group you want on the other side of a double bond. It's really great, really useful. So that's another A tier reaction for me. Now we're getting a lot of A tiers in a row because up next we have just general Grignard reactions, um, and they're a lot of fun, especially when you can, as you can see with OR groups, they react twice with chlorine attached or another easy leaving group. You get a double addition, which is really nice and easy to form molecules. You can add different kinds of R groups, very useful. So that's another A tier reaction for me. I know that's a lot of A tiers, but we're not hitting both sides. Um, let me think because we also have next to zero. This is boring. I'm moving this alpha selenation down to D tier. We gotta have a D tier reaction. The next reaction is going to be a Michael reaction, which is essentially, well, it's very useful. It just uses molecules that have been created before, and you can add R groups as seen here. If you have a Grignard, it adds to this initial position, um, but then it adds to the beta position using nucleophiles or Kupris group, which is incredibly useful for especially the next one. So you can create a molecule like this, and you still have this alpha hydrogen that can be used, which is incredibly useful. But it a lot of times is just the buildup for another reaction, which is a lot more useful. So I'm gonna put that actually at C tier, which feels a little low. However, when we get to the next and final reaction, we have a Robinson, which, contrary to what I've been saying a lot, I'm liking the easy reactions. This gets pretty complicated. This is the simplest form, but it can get pretty complex because you first have to do the Michael addition and then you have to rearrange it into its best and most stable form into rings that are stable, such as 5 and 6 member rings. And you have to account for additional groups that one might have to add. So can get complicated, but it is so satisfying to do. And you get, and one of the oxygen disappears and you get a double bond. There's just a lot going on. So this will be my one and only, but well deserved S tier reaction. Now, that's it for now for the overall retrons, but I know a lot of stuff was missed, such as Claisen reactions and also reactions with like amides and just nitrogens in them in general, like I can't speak, and emides and amines and those sorts of things. Um, So I know I missed a decent amount. Also, didn't cover some easier and previous stuff like acetals, etc. But these are very important reactions, and as you can see, a lot of organic chemistry can be fun and simple to do. So yeah, please like the video, subscribe maybe, and I will probably see you again for another tier list.